Oh, I said no about 4 times. It terrified me. There was no muscle in my body that told me I should play myself in order.
Oh, I told them no 4 times. In other words, it scared me. My body didn't tell me in any way that I should play myself in order. Nicolas Cage paid more than Leonardo DiCaprio for a dinosaur skull in 2007. He had 2 houses, his own island, and an octopus that cost $150,000 as a pet. Then the unthinkable took place. From $150 million to nothing, he lost all of his money. He put himself to the edge by being in 29 straight movies just to keep his creditors away. Telling the truth about what went wrong with him. When I was 9, my dad and I drank champagne and ate Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's when I ate my favorite dish for the first time. Many of the choices Nicolas Cage made when he thought his success would last were danger signs long before he became a symbol of overindulgence and failure. He quietly lost everything when he put his trust in the wrong person. Later, Cage stated that he let a business manager make almost all of his financial decisions because he thought the manager would protect him. Instead, debts grew behind his back, properties were recklessly funded, and taxes were not paid until the amounts were so high that they would destroy his life. After many years, he said, I didn't know how bad it was. Everything was already on fire by the time I got it. His properties, which used to be signs of safety, turned into threats. Homes that he thought were safe investments lost all of their value quickly. Repair costs went through the roof, loans put up. Cage all of a sudden had mortgages on castles, homes, and land that he barely had time to visit. And as his money fell apart, so did his image. Reports made fun of him by calling him careless, reckless, and foolish. People made fun of how much he spent, but they never saw how scared he was. He worked hard and tried to stay ahead of the storm, but it was impossible. Like I was going away, I was losing parts of my life faster than I could hold on to them. He would later say sorry. Before anyone asked about Cage's childhood before he became famous, he had already been through a personal fall that almost erased him. I replied, I can't do that, but I do recall that when I was 12, I could hold my breath for 2 minutes. That's it. I was 12 years old. That's it. His story came full circle when everyone saw him fall. Nicholas Kim Coppa was born on January 7, 1964, in Long Beach, California. He came from a family that seemed strong, artistic, and impossible to get close to. August Floyd Coppola was his father and a well-known and respected professor of comparative literature. He had a mother named Joy Vogelong who was a dancer and director. She was from Germany and Poland. On his dad's side of the family, everyone was Italian and had a lot of ties to Hollywood. Carmine Coppola was his grandfather and a musician. Italy Panino was his grandma and an actress. He had an uncle named Francis Ford Coppola. Talia Shire was his aunt. Sofia Coppola, Roman Coppola, and Jason Schwartzman were all his cousins. Nicolas Cage seemed to have been born into certainty, privilege, and artistic safety just by his name. But the truth inside his house was insecure and scary. His mother had schizophrenia and serious depression, and her illness set the tone for the whole family. Sometimes she would go away for so long that she forgot about her family, her child, and her own life. The first time Cage was locked up was when she was only 6 years old. He learned to talk about hospitals when he was a child. He was 12 years old when his parents' marriage fell apart because of her illness. She went to mental hospitals for years at a time to get electroshock therapy, which made her even less recognizable. There wasn't any notice, no reason, and no feeling that it would last. She would just be gone. During most of his youth, he was locked up with his choreographer Mother Joy because she had a serious mental illness. Cage learned as a child that showing sorrow did not make things better. No matter how scared or sad he was, nothing changed. The house wasn't stable yet. You had nothing to lean on for comfort or a schedule you could count on. That's why he stopped playing. He instead kept a close eye on them. He later said that he looked at his mother's events like someone would look at a school subject. He looked for patterns, changes, and warning signs. There was no choice but to detach. It helped him deal with the constant fear that she would leave again and never come back. After his mother was taken to the hospital, there was a kind of silence that could break a kid down from the inside. As a child, Nicolas Cage lived in Long Beach with his father, who was trying to build a new life around the empty place her illness left. Because of that, Cage picked up habits that were less like those of a kid and more like those of a survivor. He saw everything. He heard every change in tone and mood, no matter how small. He was always alert. Many years later, Cage would say that kids whose parents had schizophrenia were super frenetic. He said that because they are always expecting something bad to happen, they become very alert, high-level, and pushed all the time. He quickly saw that he had those features. He worked too hard, moved too quickly, and tried to be the best at everything he did, not because he wanted praise, but because it scared him to be still. Because no one else wanted to make it, I told myself, I'm never going to win the Oscar, so let's just do this anyway. In talks, he talked about Charlie Chaplin as another child whose life was changed by a parent's divorce. It made him feel better to know he wasn't the only kid who learned to read people like they read books. After Cage got older, his lack of feelings became a strength for him. He paid as much attention to studying people as he did keeping track of his mother's events. It became a way to get rid of all that stress to act. Not at all, we're talking about tits. Big tits. Tit in a circle. Movies gave him order. It told him what to do. In that world, confusion made sense because every scene and moment had a reason for being there. He was brave enough to show emotions on TV that he would never do in real life. This is not possible. You already know how he is. He will kill you for no reason, I'm telling you. He went to Hollywood before he was ready because of his fear and need to stay alive. But when he finally got into the business, people made fun of him. Nicholas, who was 15 at the time, got a small part in Fast Times at Ridgemont High as an unnamed friend of Brad's in a burger place. He proudly said that his name was Nicholas Coppa as he walked onto that set with hope in his chest. The 17-year-old fades into the background, but the name of his Coppola didn't. He thinks that his family name might finally let something in instead of blocking it. It was turned into a target instead. As soon as he got there, everyone looked at When they looked at the call sheet and saw Nicolas Coppola, they thought right away that he had gotten the job because his uncle, Francis Ford Coppola, had directed Apocalypse Now. They didn't treat him like a young actor who was trying to learn. They treated him like an expert who was too spoiled to learn. Not because they liked the movie, but because they wanted him to feel the weight of his last name. The crew started screaming lines from Apocalypse Now across the set. They imitated scenes, said lines over and over, and nudged each other while they watched his response. Cage tried to fit in, but he was only 15 years old and the only real kid in a group of adults who thought he was funny. Leave this place, please. I have to leave now. Laws against child work limited his hours, but the ridicule hurt more. Every time someone yelled another quote across the set, and he could feel his stomach drop. After many years, he would say, I just wanted to act. But I didn't feel like I belonged in the place. I think the director cutting most of his parts made him realize that the door he had hoped for was already shut. When he looked in the mirror one afternoon, the name Coppola didn't seem like it fit him anymore. He felt like he had a rope around his neck. He did something very bad. Luke Cage was a comic book hero who stood on his own, and John Cage was an avant-garde musician who broke the rules without saying sorry. That's why he changed it to Nicolas Cage. It was the first time he really rebelled, and it shook the business world. It should have a punk rock vibe when people think of Nicolas Cage at that time. Producers said behind his back that he was rude and ungrateful for separating himself from the Coppola brand. Francis Ford Coppola was upset and angry, so he stopped giving Cage chances or tryouts. Because they didn't know if hiring him would upset the Coppola family, casting agents quietly pushed him away and wouldn't meet with him. But Cage wouldn't give up. Putting himself straighter and lowering his voice, he decided that if he had to, he would start over. I wanted it to be hard to guess. It's unknown what you will get. It had to be fun and a little scary for me. But from there on out, things only got worse. Nicolas Cage felt stuck when he was 17. He had tried for years to handle school, the chaos at home, and the stress of being the couple's name, but nothing felt right. His school didn't make him feel better, gave him no direction, or gave him hope that his life would change. It got old for him to act like he fit into a pattern that never fit who he was becoming. His wish was to see movies. It was time for him to leave. Then he quit. He didn't have a plan, but he knew that staying would hurt him more than going. It was hard for me to tell if they were on the same level when I made the deal so complicated. His first wake-up call came quickly. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High, most of his scenes were